this is Mark, president of the Nevada Northern Railway National Historic Landmark in Ely, Nevada. And I am standing in the blacksmith shop. There are actually 3 blacksmith shops on the complex. This is by far the largest of all of them. Right in front of me here is one of the forges. And then behind me, you can see the drop hammer. And there's a second forge over there. Hanging on the wall behind me are patterns, and we'll talk about those too. The Nevada Northern Railway is as isolated today as it was back in the heyday from 1906 all the way up to the 1970s. If anything broke, the crew had to fix it here. And one of the things they used were blacksmiths. And on this forge here, they burned coke. And coke is essentially baked coal, and it's almost pure carbon. We have an air line coming into it. They would light the fire, and they would adjust the air, and the fire would go to a blue-white heat. Very, very hot. Whatever piece they were heating there, they would heat it there, and then either you take it to this anvil here, or if they had a large piece, they would use the drop hammer. And the drop hammer here is exactly what they say. This is the hammer. It would be pulled up, get to the top of its run, and then it would be released and would go bang! Back up. Bang! Back up, bang! And then the big piece would go back into the forge, they heat it up, they bring it back. I've heard tales that a very good drop hammer operator, if you came in to the blacksmith shop, he'd ask for your watch. And he'd take your watch and he'd put it right down here and raise the hammer, and he could bring the hammer down so the hammer just touched the watch. Of course, if he screwed up, he needed a new watch. So the amazing thing on the back wall here are all of the tools that were needed by the blacksmiths to make different pieces for the locomotives. And then above us here on the wall are what we call patterns. And these patterns actually are part of what I call a preservation paradox. We can't save everything. It's a fact of life. And what happened is, when the copper company closed down in 1984, they had all these patterns out at McGill. That's where the mill and smelter was, about 12 miles away from us. Well, they were shutting down. They weren't going to reopen. They took all these patterns, which are made out of wood, and they put them in a big pile in front of the headquarters and said, hey, you can take them home if you want them. Well, you just lost your job, and it gets really cold here. So they took the patterns home and they burned them. And one person took the patterns home, and instead of burning them, he put them in his root cellar. About 3 years ago, he gave me a call and said, Mark, I have all these patterns from McGill. I don't know what to do with them. Do you want them? At that particular time, this room was just filled with stuff. And I said, you know what? I really would like them, but I don't have any room for them. So I'm going to say no, thank you for thinking of us. And then I always ask this question, so if I don't take them, what are you going to do with them? He said, burn them. I said, oh man. So guess who got a whole bunch of patterns? And so we cleaned out the room. We had volunteers come in and hung the patterns off the wall. And a pattern is truly a work of art. The detail on them is just really amazing. And And the way the pattern would work is, if they needed to make this wheel, they would take it and they would put it on the ground and it would have a pattern box that went around it. And they take that box and they put in sand and they would pound the sand down, and then they would remove the pattern, and they could only do half at a time. And then they would bring in the molten metal, pour it in there, and create the pattern. And so when you heat up metal, obviously it's bigger, and then when it cools down, it all contracts. So the pattern maker had to take that into consideration. And the radiuses are just truly amazing here. It's a work of art that is really a dying art. And now we really don't have pattern makers. What we do when we need a pattern, we use 3D printing. So even though we're essentially a 19th century institution, we do use 21st century technology to replicate the parts that we need. So once we survive the virus and everything, we invite you to come here to the Nevada Northern Railway in Ely, Nevada, and experience what it took to keep a railroad running.